by the numbers. So today my number is 20%. And since we're talking about what it means to be a good client, you don't want any of your clients to go over the 20% threshold. And the reason why is because if they turn into a bad client, you're risking your business in general by having any client larger than 20%. Now it happens because sometimes, and we've been there before, but when you don't want to put all your, growth and your, well-being into one client that might have a COVID pandemic happen and they lose their business, and now you've lost your business. So because we're talking about the good client, bad client, try to make sure that you don't allow a client to exceed over 20% of your total revenue. And I don't have any statistics behind that, but I think that's a general rule is don't allow.
It's your profit margin. So if they leave, right? So based on the 80%, you're most likely running around, that 20%, profit margin. Unless you could figure out a way to survive. But once they're gone, okay, well, you're broke and not making any money at that point. But yeah. I agree. So, all right, what would you do when somebody's creeping up to be 30 to 40%?
So it's definitely happened before, and I think at that point you just have to start bringing on the contracts. Locking in long-term, arrangements. It's like, okay, if I'm going to dedicate X amount to you, this is a commitment. And if you're bringing an extraordinary amount of commitment to a client or a project, then you need to lock that in. And if the client's demanding it, they should have no problem locking it in. If they can't lock that in, and of course there's going to be outs and there's going to be ways to manage it. I mean, you have to have that, understanding. But if they can't commit to you, you can't commit to them. It's a two-way street. So if they're going to resist committing a long-term relationship with you, then right off the bat that they don't have a plan of being at this level for the long term. And we actually just recently had that example perfectly play out. I mean, it happens all the time. If they are going to tell you if they're willing to commit or they're willing to have a long-term relationship. You just have to listen.
I love that. And I think at some point, some people will try to use it as leverage if you're not careful, if they slip into that bad client category, knowing that, all right, you are a business and this is a way that they can put the squeeze on you. So I think having some lines in the sand with an agreement is sage advice.
Yeah. And, have escalators or de-escalators. Say, we can adjust it down slowly over time. So that's on all the clients that we've had a very large engagement with. Then we have structured the escape hatch to be tiered. So it's never going to be a Band-Aid ripped off out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. It has to be a staged de-escalation so we can slowly unwind that commitment, because otherwise you're just pushing that risk down to your employees. And because if a client can just rip the Band-Aid and just rip that revenue out, then that means I got to do the same thing to employees. And that's unfair. So part of, protecting your employees from bad clients is our job as, people that are running businesses, is we've got to structure deals in a way that we're not going to just out of nowhere fire 3 employees. And then the rest of the team sees that and then goes, all right, management kind of sucks, and so it's our job to protect from that, so you don't have any, crazy disruptions. But it happens. It still happens. A lot of
traditional agencies, when they lose accounts, they just literally, all right, bigger agencies, we're going to shed 120 staff because we no longer have, that account, right? Something the size of, it could be Coca-Cola or large grocery stores. And I've seen it here locally.
That's how everybody doesn't that feel like that's how everyone's operating? I mean, we have employees that have war stories from scenarios like that, and I remember when I was interviewing them, I gave them the commitment. I was like, that'll never happen here. We'll never
touch some wood.
What's that?
Touch some wood. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, was it Fievel that never say never or something like that?
I don't know.
You remember who Fievel was, right?
Yeah, the little mouse that
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
traveled on the boat.
Yeah, little rat. I think he was the one that said never say never. No, I think that was a good good by the numbers. Little and also little 80s nostalgia there in the end.